All right, let's dive into the world of oil painting. We got this awesome YouTube video someone shared by Dixon, right? And he kind of walks us through how he creates this amazing landscape.
Yeah, it really takes you through his whole process.
It does. So today, let's try to unpack his compositional choices and how he plays with those color temperatures to create a specific mood and feel.
Well, right off the bat, it's so cool how Dixon approaches the canvas with this, like, open mind.
Open mind.
Yeah, he's totally letting the process kind of guide his brush strokes. Obviously, he's got a general idea, vision, but he's super open to those happy accidents along the way.
Love that. And watching the video, you can see he's not like meticulously sketching every single detail.
Totally.
It's more like this organic evolution, like as in a conversation with the canvas.
Exactly. Which, if you zoom out for a sec, reminds us that sometimes those unexpected moments in the creative process, those are the breakthroughs.
Makes sense.
It's about recognizing them and being flexible enough to work them into the artwork.
So even for someone as skilled as Dixon, it's not about sticking to a rigid plan.
Right.
Sometimes the magic is in going off-road a little, yeah.
Absolutely. And then, you see how masterfully he creates depth and distance in the landscape.
Yeah, how does he do that?
He's using overlapping shapes, these gradients, especially in those background hills and the sky.
Okay.
All very intentional choices. And the way he softens those edges, pushing elements further back, genius. It's like he's using this atmospheric perspective to trick our eyes into seeing depth on a flat surface.
Whoa, that's crazy. It's like he's warping our perception of space.
It is.
Making us think parts of the painting are miles away.
Yeah, and then at the same time, he uses sharper details in the foreground, amplifying that depth even more.
Okay, so that interplay between what's in focus and what's blurred is a big part of it.
Exactly, pulling you right into the scene.
Now, let's talk color. Dixon is so deliberate with it.
Oh, yeah.
He uses this mix of, like, phthalo green, some oxide red, and ultramarine blue in those early layers. And he even says, that red really knocks that green back. What's happening there?
That's a great example of complementary colors in action. Red and green, they're opposites on the color wheel, so when you put them next to each other, boom, they intensify each other.
Oh, I see.
So by adding that red, he's actually making the green appear less intense, pushing it back in space.
So it's not just about the colors themselves, it's how they play off each other to impact the depth and space.
Absolutely. It's like a visual language he's using to guide our eyes, through the painting.
Okay, I'm starting to see it now. And speaking of guiding our emotions, the way he uses warm and cool colors to create this feeling of light and time.
Ooh, yeah.
Like in the foreground, it's all these warm reds and oranges, and as you go back, it transitions to those cooler blues and greens. What's going on there?
That's color temperature at work. And it's super powerful. Warm colors, like your oranges and reds, they kind of jump forward visually.
Gotcha.
Make objects seem closer, while cool colors, your blues and greens, recede, making things look farther away.
Whoa, so it's like he's creating this 3D effect, even though it's all on a flat canvas.
Exactly.
And not just space, but that feeling too, right?
Right.
Warm and inviting in the front, and then it becomes cooler, maybe more like reflective in the back.
Exactly. Great observation. He's taking us on an emotional journey as much as he's guiding our eye.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And that gradual shift in color, it also makes you think about the time of day.
It does.
Feels like late afternoon, sun's about to set, long shadows.
Yeah, you nailed it. Look at how he uses those warm tones to highlight specific things.
Like what?
That sunlit grass in the front and the reflections in the water.
Oh, yeah.
It's subtle, but it's storytelling through painting.
So it's not just what it looks like, but capturing a specific moment, feeling, atmosphere, all through color and light.
Precisely. And if we think about composition, that color temperature thing emphasizes those leading lines we discussed. Everything's working together to pull your eye through the scene.
Okay, I think I'm getting it now. Let's talk about the reflections, because they're not just mirror images.
Right.
He's got blurs, movement, even those ripples he makes by dragging paint. What's up with that?
The reflections add a whole other layer to the composition. By blurring and distorting the mirror image, he creates this sense of movement and fluidity in the water.
Oh, interesting.
Emphasizing the organic nature of the whole scene. He's not just copying what he sees, he's interpreting it, adding layers of emotion and meaning through his brushstrokes.
It's like he's capturing the feeling of being there.
Yeah.
The warmth of the sun, the coolness of the water, the gentle movement of the air. It's immersive.
That's exactly what a skilled landscape painter does. evokes a multisensory experience for the viewer.
It's more than what you see.
Right, it's what you feel. And remember that bit where the masking tape starts warping the canvas?
Yeah.
He doesn't even flinch, just calls it part of the process and keeps going.
He's so chill about it.
Right. And I think that says something about art in general and even just being creative. You're going to hit bumps in the road, but those moments where you have to adapt to solve problems on the fly, that's often where the most creative stuff comes from.
Makes sense.
It forces you to think differently, find new approaches.
So even the pros have to be adaptable, just like us.
Totally. And sometimes those so-called mistakes, they become the most interesting parts of a piece. It's about embracing imperfection, you know?
I love that. Finding the beauty in the unexpected.
Exactly.
It really is like life, isn't it?
Totally.
Sometimes those detours take you to the most amazing places. So we've covered how Dixon uses composition and layering to make this dynamic landscape. But there's still so much more to unpack, especially with those reflections and those color choices.
Oh, yeah, we've just scratched the surface.
We have. But we'll get back to this incredible painting in a bit.
All right, so those water reflections we were talking about before the break.
Yeah, those are captivating.
They are, and I think it's a great example of how Dixon takes something simple, like a reflection, and elevates it, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
It's not just a mirror image. There's something more going on.
Exactly. He adds these little distortions, these movements, that really capture the essence of water.
It's almost dreamlike, like these fragmented memories of the landscape above.
I know, right? And the technique he uses there,
What's that called?
scumbling. He gently drags a dry brush with just a thin layer of paint over another dry layer underneath.
Okay.
And that lets some of that bottom color peek through.
So that's how he gets that hazy, almost ethereal effect.
Exactly. Totally different from the sharp edges in other parts of the painting.
It's like he's saying water has its own world, with secrets hiding beneath the surface.
It does feel that way.
And then he uses a palette knife to add those tiny ripples and waves.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
Adds another layer of texture and realism.
Absolutely. It's like he's constantly playing with our expectations, making us look closer, you know?
Yeah, I get that.
And as someone who loves oil painting, you probably notice the subtle color shifts within the water, right?
For sure. It's not just one shade of blue. There are hints of green, maybe some purple.
Even some white. It makes the water so lively.
It's like he's capturing how the light dances and reflects on the surface, creating this shimmering effect.
Absolutely.
And then there's this thing in the video where Dixon keeps talking about creating a ship in his mind.
Oh, yeah. What do you think he means by that?
It's interesting.
It is.
What do you think?
I think he's using it as this metaphor for the whole composition.
Okay.
He's not just placing objects randomly. He's arranging them deliberately to create this visual flow, like how a shipbuilder designs a hull, right?
Okay.
And those color temperature shifts, along with where he places details. That acts like the rudder, guiding our eye through the painting, making it harmonious.
That is such a cool analogy. So he's not just capturing a scene, he's crafting an experience, right?
Yes.
Taking us on a journey through the painting with our eyes and our emotions. Which brings us back to something we talked about, how he uses color temperature for mood and atmosphere.
Yeah.
He said the warm colors in the front make us feel welcomed.
Yeah, they draw you in.
Yeah, like we're being invited into the scene.
That same warmth guides your eye to the focal point of the painting.
But then, as the colors cool down in the back, the mood changes, right?
It does.
It becomes more contemplative, like a space for reflection.
Exactly. It's like our emotions and perceptions shifting as we move through different places.
It's wild how he does that.
It is.
And the way he uses warm tones to bring out certain details, like the sunlit grass and the leaves on those trees.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's like he's painting with light.
Absolutely. Light and color work together to create that depth and dimension, that sense of warmth and invitation. And then it fades into that cooler, more reflective mood as you go back.
It's crazy how such subtle shifts can have such a big impact on how we see the painting. Makes me wonder, how much of this is Dixon doing on purpose? And how much is just intuition, you know?
That's a really great question. And I think it gets to the heart of creativity. Even when artists have a plan, there's always that element of gut feeling, letting the work guide them.
Like he's trusting his instincts, letting the colors and brushstrokes lead the way.
Exactly. And that's what gives the painting that sense of life, you know? It's not just a technical thing. It's an expression of the artist. It's a reflection of his way of seeing the world.
And that's why, even though he's following certain rules of composition, the painting feels so fresh and unique.
Absolutely. He's not just following the rules, he's using them to fuel his own creativity.
It's like you need to know the grammar to speak a language, but it's the words you choose that give it meaning.
Perfect analogy.
So he's balancing technique with this intuitive approach, and that's what makes it so complex and interesting, right?
It is. It's like watching a chef who knows all the techniques, but isn't afraid to try new things.
It's that unique blend that makes it so good. And speaking of good, we can't forget those trees. They're so important in the composition, framing the whole scene.
They are.
We'll have to explore those and the bigger picture of Dixon's choices in just a bit.
Those trees really are something special. They're not just background decorations,
Oh, absolutely.
They anchor the whole composition,
I see that.
drawing your eye towards the center
Okay.
and giving the scene this, epic feel.
Yeah, those strong vertical lines, contrasting with the horizontal lines of the land and water. It creates such a sense of balance and harmony. And how he paints the foliage,
Right.
so lush and detailed in the front, and then softer, almost hazy as they go back. Amazing.
It's a masterclass in brushwork. You can practically feel the sunlight filtering through the leaves, creating those dappled shadows.
I can see it.
And the warm tones he uses, they tie the foreground and background together so seamlessly.
It's like he's weaving this tapestry of color and texture, leading our eye from that warmth in the front to the cooler tones way back there.
And you see those little touches of pink and orange near the horizon. They reinforce that feeling of warmth, like the whole landscape is bathed in the setting sun.
It's really beautiful.
It is.
And, we've talked a lot about the technical side. Composition, color choices, brushwork. But honestly, what gets me is the feeling it evokes. It's so peaceful, so tranquil.
I get that. There's a stillness to this landscape, this timelessness, that resonates with us on a deeper level.
Right, like he's caught that fleeting moment between day and night, that magical transition when the world is bathed in this soft, ethereal light. Makes you wonder, was Dixon feeling that when he painted this?
That's an interesting thought.
Was he going for a specific emotion, or just focused on the technical challenge?
We can't know for sure, but I think that's part of the magic of art. It allows us to connect with the artist on that level.
Like we get to experience those feelings along with them. And we bring our own emotions to the painting too, right?
Absolutely. What evokes peace in one person might spark a memory in someone else.
It's never just a static thing, a painting. It's this dynamic interaction.
Totally. It's a conversation between the artist and the viewer, and each viewer brings their own perspective to it.
It's like we're completing the painting ourselves.
Yeah, adding our own layer of meaning.
And that's what's so powerful about art. It transcends time and space, brings people together.
It reminds us of what connects us, our shared humanity.
Well said. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Alan Dixon's work, I think we can all agree he's created something special.
He has.
It's more than just a pretty picture. It's a work of art that speaks to us.
It is.
It makes us slow down, look closer, feel, and connect with the beauty around us.
He's reminded us that art isn't just about skill, it's about how we see and feel the world.
And that's something we can all share and appreciate, right?
Yeah.
So next time you see any kind of art,
A painting, a sculpture.
even a delicious meal,
Absolutely.
take the time to really see it, to feel it. You might be surprised by what you discover. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of oil painting, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into creativity and inspiration.